Welcome back to Media 7. When former Sunday newspaper editor Sue Chetwin became CEO of Consumer New Zealand 2 years ago, she not only had the big shoes of David Russell to fill, but a changing consumer environment to address. And to judge by this recent interview on Morning Report, some feathers to ruffle.
What right does consumer have to be the watchdog for the financial advice industry? We are setting up a regulatory framework that has the role of doing that. This is not consumer territory. This is not washing machines. This is not haircuts and travel plans.
That's Liz Coe, the Director of MoneyMax, who quit her position on the committee working on the new code for financial advisors after her own firm received a scathing assessment in a consumer survey of financial advisors. Well, Sue Chetwin is with me now. So, what did you make of that? Stick to your knitting, reviewing toasters and hair straighteners?
Well, our knitting is the finance business. We're 50 years old this year and we've been covering the finance industry for all of that time. In fact, in the 70s we had our own publication giving financial advice. We do it all the time in insurance and health and credit cards, and since 1988 we've been calling for the finance industry to be licensed. So I think we're well qualified to be discussing it.
I get the impression though that this time around there has actually been quite a major effort for you. There's been a degree of upskilling, hasn't there? How long did it take, for example?
We've been working on it for more than 6 months. We had the idea ourselves. We did a mystery shop ourselves about 5 years ago, but we didn't go as far as doing the actual plans, and this time we wanted to do that, and we wanted to use real people. So we had a discussion with the Retirement Commission, the Ministry of Economic Development and the Securities Commission, and we've worked with them pretty well all the way through and have had a lot of support from them. And our own staff that have been working on it have got very good skills in the financial area, so I'm absolutely convinced that we've done the right thing and that our research is robust, and so are all our partners. How
much did your journalistic background have a role to play there? Because in the way even we talked about scalps, it's like a good newspaper story.
Well, it was a good newspaper story, but we were shocked. We thought we'd find pockets of bad practice. We hadn't realised that it would be so pervasive. And Liz Coe, I guess, is a good example of that. I mean, she was asked to resign from the Code Committee, and I think that was a good thing to happen.
Do you think consumers are going to need more and more advice about services and intangible products like this?
I think they do, and I think this industry is particularly bad. I think the Securities Commission probably could have done more, but at least it's doing it now. And next year, consumers are going to have a disputes resolution service that they can go to as well. So, in the finance area, they're going to be pretty well covered, hopefully. Talking
about the damage that the finance company collapses have caused, is there a realistic prospect of making sure it never happens again? Can we do that?
I don't know whether we can make sure that it doesn't happen again, but what we can do is make sure that consumers understand, you know, risk and return, and that they do more understand what they're actually getting into, and I think that's what the problem has been. They've, I guess there's been a bit of greed as well, and they've jumped into some of these things like blue chip and haven't understood what they're getting into.
This, of course, is only your subscribers getting the full information on this. How many of those are there?
We've got about 70,000 subscribers, but in terms of what we've done here, we've made everything available free online because we work with partners on this who help fund it, so we thought that it should be free to anybody who wanted to look at it. I'm
intrigued, actually, that, you know, that it's great that you've made this available for free, but you've made paid content work online, which is something like the holy grail for newspapers. Why has it worked for you?
We have always been a paid site, and people have known that they've had to be members. I mean, it makes my heart sing when I hear Rupert Murdoch saying that newspapers are going to have to pay. Online people are going to have to pay for newspaper content. I think we've got a successful model because we have subscribers and we've managed to sort of transfer them from the magazine into online.
What's the difference between what you're doing and, say, the likes of Fairgo and Target, which have much bigger audiences? What's the difference between what you're doing and what they do?
I think, you know, both of those TV programs do a really good job. I guess the big difference for us is that we don't necessarily have to have a victim. So, you know, we'll look at all sorts of issues, social issues, you know, product testing and all of that, and we don't actually have to have a person that has been wronged. I mean, that's really good if you can have that, or bad, or a good illustration. But we don't necessarily have to have a person involved. I guess that's the significant difference.
You can just give the advice.
Yeah.
We're also seeing shows like What's Really in Our Food, where there's no victim, but it's giving quite intriguing consumer advice often. Do you think consumers are now more aware? Are they asking more questions than they used to?
Oh, I think they are, and the whole, you know, Cadbury's chocolate debacle is a good example of that. And just in the last few days, you know, McDonald's saying that they're going to have free-range eggs. I think consumer power does have a lot more force than it used to have.
Now, the name of the organisation, I think when you arrived it was the Consumers Institute, which had been forever. It's now Consumer NZ. Was that your doing, and was that part of a marketing strategy?
It was myself and the board. We all thought that Consumers Institute made us still sound a bit like a government department, and a bit fusty. And you know, we just wanted to modernise our look a bit. And I also think that to sort of steer us away from being a government department, or people considering that we're a government department, would make it a lot easier for us in terms of funding.
Because you're not a government department, you get no public funding. Where does the money come from? Is it solely subscriptions?
By the vast majority is subscriptions to our magazine and online, and we're doing a little bit of contracting work now, which is mostly with government departments where we don't think that, you know, it's going to interfere with our independence. And we've also launched an endorsement scheme this year, which means that where we've recommended products or services under a very strict licensing basis, some of those manufacturers or product providers can actually use our endorsements.
That's fairly new, isn't it? Because for a long time no one was allowed to use a consumer endorsement in their marketing. Why did you take that step?
Well, there were several reasons. One was to get our name out there a bit more, and also we tend to be regarded as a bit of a knocking machine of manufacturers and service providers, so where there was excellence, we thought that they should be able to use it. And the other thing was to provide another revenue stream for us, because it's quite a difficult model, our model, being just based on subscribers when you've only got a population of 5 million. So, you know, it was another revenue stream for us.
Another thing your subscribers can do is discuss these things between themselves on your website. Do you see that kind of community content and interaction becoming more important? You know, what role does it play now?
We relaunched the website in June this year, and part of that was getting communities. We're sort of new to it ourselves, but we are getting quite a lot of discussion online, and good and bad. We're learning about some of the things that we need to do better, so it's actually been really helpful.
But because, yeah, I often quote the New Zealand end of the World Internet Project, which showed that people, particularly for consumer products, were getting their information off the internet as opposed to any other form of media. So there's clearly a demand for that sort of information online, isn't there? Yeah,
and it works really well for us, because while we're testing lots of products and we can say, we can rate those, we can't really test them for durability. So when we've got our own people using it and saying, you recommended this washing machine, and 6 months down the track it's not working, that's really useful information for us.
It is, isn't it? So what's the future? What can we expect to see you doing?
We are going to be doing a lot more online. We're turning ourselves into what has traditionally been a magazine publisher into an online organisation that has a magazine sort of on the side. We've got our magazine on newsstand now, which is the first time that's happened, and that's working quite well for us. But the big thing for us is being relevant, people wanting to turn to consumer for the information that we've got, so we've got to make sure that we're timely and that we're relevant.
Will you be working with anyone else?
Well, we're already working a bit with government departments and with sort of organisations that we think that that we can do business with, as long as we don't interfere in any way with our independence or the unbiasedness of our reports. Sue Chetwin, thank you very much. That's that's quite an information dump. Well, best of luck with the changes coming up, and congratulations on actually getting a result out of those finance companies. Thank you. I think we all like to see that. And that is all for now. Thank you, Sue Chetwin, and thanks also to our news industry experts Lance Wiggs and Julie Starr, and our BFMers Gemma Gracewood, Paul Casserly and Troy Ferguson. And as ever, thanks to you for watching. We'll be back next week with the first of the Media 7 Summer Series. Until then, goodbye.